discover more about the nature of reality and help create a better life for yourself and the rest of the planet. My name is Icke and I've created a process called Draw Your Reality. For more information, you can go to my website, nikkipalmer.com, and receive a free gift that I put together just for you.
Here on the Isle of Wight today, it is bloody freezing. And I'm seeing here a story that Greece has had temperatures plummet to a record minus 23 centigrade as European cold snap sees enormous dumping of snow. So we're still struggling with global warming then. And there are increasing numbers of people who are not buying. There's been a lot of people for a long time who are not buying this whole thing about human-caused climate change. Does the climate change? Of course the climate changes, but is it caused by what has been demonized now as a pollutant called carbon dioxide, when actually it's the gas of life? Without carbon dioxide, there would be no life, no plant life, nothing. And they've, in the minds of many, especially the progressive left, have successfully demonized a gas that is essential for life. And whenever there have been high concentrations of CO2, then growth and life has been abundant. It's when it gets really, really cold that the inability to function becomes catastrophic. See Ice Age. And here's another story this week about climate change before I move on. As climate change fear-mongering falls apart, which it is, but you see, what you notice is although the whole basis of it is falling apart, the belief in it is falling apart, they're still banging on with the policies as if it's real, with all these horrible wind turbines destroying beautiful landscapes and seascapes. And all these other areas of policy, because of course it was never anything to do with saving the planet. It's to do with finding an excuse to transform human society, not least through something called Agenda 21, Agenda 2030, coming out of the United Nations, which I've written about at length. And in the 1960s, an organization was created called the Club of Rome, which was specifically created to exploit environmental concerns to justify the transformation of human society. So here's the headline I was talking about. As climate change fear-mongering falls apart, 2018 goes down as is the first in history with no violent tornadoes. Climate change alarmists can say whatever they want when talking about the future. They choose their words to scare people, and when they're looking about what could happen 50 to 100 years from now, many of them know they will never be held to account for their irresponsible comments when their doom and gloom predictions fail to come to fruition. Now, of course, many have already done so, not least those of Al Gore, the man who wants to save the planet. He flies around in private jets and turns up in cavalcades of big limos. However, we are already starting to see some of their more short-term predictions fall apart, it says here. As 2018 came to a close, experts say that 2018 will go down in history as being the first on record that did not experience any high-end twisters, with not a single violent tornado touching down anywhere in the United States all year, and 10 tornado deaths noted this year, vying to become a record low. Why is this relevant, the story asks? Well, many experts and climate change alarmists alike have long held that global warming will lead to more frequent and powerful tornadoes. Trapping heat with greenhouse gases, the theory goes, adds energy to the atmosphere in the form of moist, warm, unstable air that forms tornadoes. If you look back at former President Barack Obama's second inaugural speech in January 2013, you'll see that he said global warming and climate change were causing raging fires, crippling drought, and more powerful storms. Incidentally, the year before, 2012, saw the number of tornadoes hit a 10-year low of just 936. Excuse me, one of the excuses that they are conveniently using this climate change hoax for is that they want to spray the sky. Now, they've been spraying the bloody sky since at least the 1990s, goes back earlier, but that's when it became so obvious that people noticed it. Started in North America, it seems, and then went worldwide. Called chemtrails. These chemical trails and nanotechnology trails coming out of planes that crisscross the sky all over the world. I've seen them everywhere. And of course, they've been denying that chemtrails exist. It's all a myth. Yeah, you know, although you still crisscrossing the sky, and that plane's turning now and it's going in that direction, so it crosses the last stream that it created, and that one's doing the same in the other direction. So yeah, it's all a myth. And I've sat and watched a sky be crisscrossed, where a beautiful blue sky became a cloudy day, not through clouds but through chemtrails. So what they're doing now, because I guess they can't hide it any longer for large numbers of people, because it ain't a figment of people's imagination. So what they're doing is saying that we have to spray stuff in the sky, i.e. chemtrails, to reduce the amount of sunlight and the amount of heat. So it's an excuse to do what they've been doing since at least the 1990s. And this is a classic case of the malevolent and the stupid and the uninformed, because this is what you have in politics. You have the few characters who connect into this web big time, and then you have all the ignorant people who get somehow elected to political office who are absolutely clueless. They only know what they read in the papers. They only know what the people around them, i.e. system people, tell them. And they come out with the most absolute crap. I mean, you have a minister, for instance, or in other countries like America, you have someone selected to run a office of state, be it Secretary of State, Secretary of Defense, whatever. You go in there and you have not got a clue about what you're doing. You might be like Pompeo and Bolton, who have a clear agenda, not least Israel's agenda, which they are pushing America to conform to, but you don't know anything about the subject. I mean, Bolton might know a bit more because he's obviously obsessed with bombing countries. But most of these people, they don't know. And then you have what they call a reshuffle in Britain, where suddenly, after maybe 2 years or so of people running certain ministries, the Prime Minister will say, well, we're having a reshuffle. Well, that means you basically rearrange the deck chairs on the Titanic, you know. And so someone who's been running, I don't know, the pensions ministry or something, then gets moved to environment. Now, he doesn't know, or she doesn't know any more about the environment than they knew about pensions or anything else. But now they're running the Environment Ministry, overseeing things like global warming policy. So where are they going to get their information from on which to make decisions? Well, they're going to get it from the civil service, the administrators of government, who are always there, the permanent government. So the branch of the permanent government, the administrators, the civil servants as we call them in Britain, were telling the person what to believe and what to do at the pensions ministry. And now they've moved to environment. Now the group that administer the environment ministry are now telling the same person what to believe and what to do and how things are. See, this is one of the major ways that Brexit has been undermined. It's been undermined by the administrators of government who don't want it overwhelmingly. And so you have this this situation where the blind are being led. And yet the blind are supposed to be running the country. So, you know, I've met politicians over the years, and, you know, I tell you, in my experience, politicians are some of the most uninformed, clueless, and arrogant, which is a hell of a combination, people you'll ever meet. They're absolutely clueless. And some of them have been running parties. Some of them have had aspiration for running parties, but they're clueless. And so, you have this situation now where the whole basis of global warming is falling apart, and yet the policies that are supposed to be responding to global warming go on and on and on. That's why there's an agenda, and the people that could stop the agenda in politics have no idea there's an agenda.